There were 7 games on in the NBA. There was weird stuff happening as always. There was coaches switching lineups. There was things that we thought would happen that didn't happen, then didn't happen, then didn't happen, then you know what it is. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily fantasy basketball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and as I prepare to dive into the twists and turns of the NBA playoffs, I can't help but wonder, in the high-stakes game of fantasy basketball, are we all just searching for our MVP? Or is it the thrill of the chase that truly captures our hearts? I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Twitter as always, at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at LockedOnFantasyBasketball. Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the easiest and the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use the code, all lowercase, LockedOnNBA, for a first deposit match up to $100. Thank you also for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free. We are available on all platforms, so come in and double bang. Listen to the audio, watch the video, thumb it up, leave your comments, blah, blah, blah. There's so much stuff going down in the NBA every day, every 5 minutes. We're going to have so much covered for you. And people always ask this question, Josh, I know my league is dumb and it goes to the end of the season, end of the regular season. Are you still going to do stuff? Yes. I take no time off. This show goes all the way through. The regular season's over. You know what? This show still goes. Because part of this show, I think, is fantasy basketball information. I'm not a guru. I don't know everything. Nobody does. It's impossible to. Right? I'm not here to tell you that I'm the best fantasy basketball player in the world because, again, don't think that I am. Pretty good at it. Pretty good at doing all this stuff. But what I do is provide information and I hope entertainment. Something fun to do. Yes, it's a fun game. It's a fun hobby. It's annoying, but provide humor alongside it. So when the season's over, we still do stuff. We still have jokes. Still have fun. We still cover information. There's a lot to do. There's a lot that I do anyway. I love doing it. But I don't go away. The show's still here. So if you want your daily dose of jokes, you won't have 3 shows a day once the regular season's over. You have 1 a day. But if you still want the daily dose of jokes and dicks, or whatever it is that you want, we're going to be here. So, what are we looking at today? It was the games on Tuesday. There were 7 of them on. And as always, there were twists and turns in the way that coaches approach things. Let's cover some news items off at first. And we got a weird one today. Desmond Bane apparently is coming back soon. I know that it was said. I don't believe it. Well, here's what I don't believe, right? For the way that this team is handling their rotations, the way that this team is handling injury reporting, why would I believe that Desmond Bane is coming back playing 30 minutes a night rest of season? I don't. I think there is a chance that Bane returns, or they're saying that he returns, and there's actually a bit of soreness. Or he comes back, plays 5 games, 1 every second game, and plays 24 minutes a night. Everything that's happening at the moment with this team suggests that that's more likely, rather than Bane coming back, rolling at 33 a night and dominating. It doesn't seem likely. But apparently he's coming back. The conundrum here is if you're in the middle of your playoffs, you go and add Des Bane now. You've used an ad. When does he come back? The weekend? The weekend after? Does it even matter for you? There are very easy ways to see how Desmond Bane added onto your team. Roto, very different story. Add him on your bench. Easy done. Decision. You've made that decision. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't matter. In a head-to-head league, though, I see way more paths for this not working than I do for it working. Because A, you might lose an ad now, sit on a guy injured at the moment, and he doesn't come back for 10 days. It's an L. Sometimes even worse is if you do add Desmond Bane, he comes back in 3 days, and he plays 40 minutes for a week, 2 games of 20 minutes, and sits the others, and then you can't move him in and out of IL, and you've got nobody there, and it's a waste of a spot. Then you go, well, I've added him. Do I drop him again? And then you get into that decision. That's a negative too. We saw this back when Paul George broke his leg. And there's all these reports of rumors of him coming back. Paul George is returning. He's coming back. He came back for 6 games and played 24 minutes a night or whatever it was. And honestly, it wasn't worth it. I'm not saying that this is the same thing. It could be very different. But with the way that the Grizzlies are doing everything, there are so many pathways looking at Bane where it could turn out to be a negative. It's impossibly hard to pass up. If I see Bane on my waiver, I'm going to go, yeah, should I do it? And I'll consider it. But remember, that might be an ad that you use this week, gets you zeros. And it means you might not be there next week to take advantage of it. It's very hard. And again, if I try and look at my Doctor Strange 20 billion probabilities, I see far more that make it not work out than I do seeing it work out. The problem is if it does work out, it's such a high level that it's unbelievable. Jeremy Grant is questionable again. This time, instead of hamstring soreness, it's a hamstring strain. We already talked about there was no chance he plays in both of these back-to-back games coming up Wednesday, Thursday. They've popped him as questionable for Wednesday. That has got to be the closest questionable to doubtful tag I've ever seen. There's almost no way he plays in both of them. And I would say that now that it's a strain and not soreness, that is setting up for Grant to miss more time. But of course, I don't know. Trying to read the tea leaves. Jalen Johnson, we officially got an update there. He's doubtful. That's better than out. It's not as good as questionable. Maybe 2 more out for him. Then we got the one out of nowhere. We're going to talk Houston more later, but Cam Whitmore got an LCL sprain in his knee. He's out at least 3 weeks. So we've got 4.5 weeks left in the regular season. He might come back at the end, and I'd say that he's got a chance of pushing back, but obviously you're not holding him through that. We got the update, which is not an update from Pockets, about Jared Vanderbilt-Barr and Gabe Vincent. When someone asks, hey, we're going to see them this regular season, and he's like, we'll see. That's bad, right? Not that you're holding Vincent or Vanderbilt, but it's not even saying, is he back this week? It's like, in the next 5 weeks, will these men play? I don't know. That's not good. And it's the same with Julius Randle and Mitchie Robinson. Robinson's still not taking contact. Randle eventually moving through to a 5-on-0. We're still probably 2 to 3 weeks away from those guys. Well, I'd say 4 weeks from Robinson, 3 weeks from Randle. And again, look at your league. Does that update give you confidence that Randle's back in a week, 2 weeks? And is that going to be worth holding? I would say no in the vast majority of spots. But again, coaching, injury reporting, obfuscation is here, and it frustrates us. We don't really always know what to do with that, do we? Let's have a look at some waiver moves over the last 24 hours. Who has been added? Who has been dropped? As that little YouTube thing comes up, and it shouldn't have. That's okay. You just get another reminder to drop a thumb on there. Who's been the most added players? Number 1 most added player is Jock Landale, up 44%. And that's a roller coaster of emotions if you added him, isn't it? Because you saw that they went and started Amen Thompson, and Jesus. And then you see Jock Landale playing the way he is. You go, hey, here we go, the big fella. So in the end, it looks like it might work. Simone Fontecchio up 17%. Chasing the last game, absolutely. If Asar Thompson plays, I don't know that it's worth it, but I don't mind. They've got a pretty strong schedule coming up. Greg Jackson II, up 16%. He moved back to the bench today. I get it. Again, chasing an absolutely ridiculous performance, but it's okay. Corey Kispert up 16. Still Rashawn Holmes is out, so we go to Kispert. That's all right. Aaron Neesmith and TJ McConnell looking at what the Pacers did, plus the back-to-back. Totally, even irrespective of their games today, the fact that you get a back-to-back out of them, I can understand that move, and I don't think there's really much to complain about with it. The most dropped players, number 1, is the depressed penis Sadiq Bey, down 20%. Cool, he's done. Royce O'Neal down 20%. Absolutely okay with dropping him. Drop Reith down 12%. With 8 in there, you can't hold on to Dwop in most spots. Gaz Trent down 11. Seems aggressive. I'm not a big Gaz Trent fan, but he missed 1 game and he's dropped down in that many leagues. I don't think I would have done that. Chris Boucher down 8%. Yeah, he's going to be out basically the season. And Kyle Anderson down 8%. Yep, cool. Absolutely. Probably should have been dropped as soon as you heard that he was ruled out for Sunday's game. But yeah, that's a pretty obvious drop given that he missed that game. He is back today. But yeah, once he missed that Sunday one, he should have been done. Today's episode is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. That is what brings home the winning trophy. It's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything that you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number 1 ride or die, you'll find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you are burning rubber and not cash. With all the parts that you need at the prices that you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to US customers. Let's do this first game. We're talking the Sixers and the Knicks, the high-powered, high-octane offense of the Philadelphia 76ers going up against the Knicks. Tyrese Maxey returned, so he moved back into the starting lineup while Cameron Payne moved to the bench, while the Jedi, OG Anunoby, he did return, and it was the big sneeze, Precious Achiuwa, who did move to the bench. We were speculating whether it was going to be him or Hart. I did think Precious, and we got that one right. Bang for us. And the Sixers got smacked. 106-79, the final score here in this one. Great. Paul Reed off the bench again, 28 minutes, 14 and 8, 2 steals. He's just really settling in as a very comfortable 12-team must-roster player. Even though you're always nervous when someone comes off the bench, those numbers are fine. 28 minutes for Maxey. Again, this was a blowout, so the minutes were low. As Tom Thibodeau and Nick... Imagine a Tom Thibodeau versus Nick Nurse game where they want to play each player 50 minutes a game and they're forced to sit these guys early because it's a blowout. They must be so upset. Maxey had 17, 2 and 4 in his return, while Lowry played only 21 minutes. He had 6 assists and 2 steals, which is not good, but the 6 assists and 2 steals is good. The rest isn't. He is a borderline streaming 12-team league guy. Oubre, again, Kelly Oubre always does stuff. We look at he's that meme, I don't know what the meme's called, where the girl is drinking kombucha and she's doing the face, and then she changes her face and she changes it again. That's what looking at Kelly Oubre's line is like. You go, 19 points. Then you go, yeah, 1 assist, 0 steals, 0 blocks. 3 dribbles. That's 47 on 15 attempts. 2 of 4 from the line. It's just all over the shop. It always is. And Oubre, again, you will look at it and think, well, he's pretty good, isn't he? Well, no. He's 217th over the last 2 weeks in 31 minutes for category leagues. He's 170th for the season. He's only 124th in points leagues. He makes it look like he's going to be good, but he never is. Speaking of not being good, the thick Hogsman had 2 points, Tobias Harris, in 26 minutes. He did have 2 steals, but shot 17%, and he has been absolutely putrid over his last 5 games outside the top 200. This is a contract year for Toby, and I tweeted this out, and people said, he's actually been awesome in this season. Has he? I don't think so. His estimated plus minus is lower. His true shooting is lower. His effective field goal percentage is lower. His estimated wins track is lower. His usage is up because James Harden's not on the team. But I would say overall that his production, his mid-range shooting is lower. It's been worse. Has his fantasy production been higher? It's been about the same, slightly higher. But is that because he's in a contract year or because James Harden's not there, so we moved up the pecking order a little bit? But even now, this stuff stinks from Harris. It's really bad. He can't do a single thing. And the ominous quote from Nick Nurse was, have you considered benching Tobias Harris? And Nurse was like, nope, not yet. And that not yet is the key part of it. Bud Hield, speaking of getting benched, 9 points, 24 minutes, 36%. You're in the fantasy playoffs. You jack that.
Get that garbage out of here!
In Roto, you hold. If your playoffs haven't started, you hold. But he has been trending down very consistently here, buddy. And the team is healthy. And still, if Melton ever returns, that's another impediment to him. Batum didn't do anything. 0 points in his 21 minutes. And overall, just a bunch of misery for this Sixers team. For the Knicks, Josh the Hitman Hart played 39 minutes and left the game with 5 minutes to go. Josh the Hitman Hart, possibly one of the funniest players in the NBA. Unbelievably good quote from him. Talking about Tom Thibodeau. Here's the quote from Fred Katz. Fred Katz, love his Twitter account. Fred's one of the best blokes in the industry. He says, Josh Hart on if he wanted to stay in the game to get 20 rebounds. Josh Hart says, that would be nice, but Thomas Thibodeau wanted to take me out of the game. Everyone complained about me playing 40 minutes. I could have gotten my 2020 game, but he takes me out. So appreciate it, Thomas. The fact that he calls Tibbs Thomas is absolute top level comedy. I don't know why it's so funny. It's just absolutely humorous. And Josh Hart is continually humorous. And one of the guys complaining about Josh Hart playing 40 minutes, as Fred noted, was Josh Hart. So yeah, he's just a pisser. I don't know. He's funny. Anyway, Josh Hart, 39 minutes, 20 and 19, 10 assists. This bloke was unrosterable for the first 3.5 months of this season. Now he's just rolling as a top 40 player. We did have we worried, where would OG take the minutes from? Well, we got the answer. He just took most of them from Precious and Jericho Sims, basically. So we still roll with Hart. What do we do with Precious, though? He had 13 and 8 with 2 blocks on 24 minutes. That's borderline. That's okay. I think we might hold one more because he gets the center minutes because Hartenstein only played 20. And I do, as much as I love Hartenstein, you can't hold through these minutes limits.
Get that garbage out of here!
You're obviously dropping Bojan Bogdanovic.
Get that garbage out of here!
Scoreless in 22, while Anunoby played 29 in his return, had 14 and 4 with 2 threes. Great return. The big Ragu, 16 points. Jalen Brunson, 20 and 4 with 9 assists. Good numbers right around. But the big impact was on Achua, and then Jericho Sims played only 6 minutes because Achua will just get those backup power forward minutes, but also backup center minutes now. If any of you care about Jericho Sims, which I'm sure absolutely nobody does. Let's go on to what game are we going on to? Game number 2, which I'm trying to figure out which one it is. Oh, it is the Washington Wizards and the Memphis Grizzlies. Was this an interesting game? Well, I guess that depends on your definition of the word interesting. The Grizzlies made multiple changes to their starting lineup. Trey Jemison started while Jaren Jackson was out. Two-way legend Jordan Goodwin returned. He started, while Greg Jackson, who played well last game, moved to the bench. But that wasn't it. They did another one, and it was Lil John Conchar who started over Jake LaRavia. This all ties back into our early discussion on Desmond Bane. How can you have any... Obviously, Bane is not Conchar or LaRavia or Jackson or Goodwin. He's obviously better. But the way that they just chop and change things every single game with random ins and outs and minutes and all that sort of stuff, it feels very hard to just go, yep, Bane 32, we're good every game, we're solid. It just doesn't feel like it's got any hope of that happening. But they win again. The Grizzlies, 109-97. As for the Wizards, Holmes was out again. You really can't hold through this now. Kuzma had 24, 7, and 5. Continues to put up strong numbers. While Geordie Poole back to stinking. 10 points, 27 minutes, 36% with 4 assists. I am still holding him. Tyus Jones only had 4 points, a revenge game with 11% shooting. He did have the 9 assists and we hold. While Denny Avdia figured it out. Best shooter of all time, had 16 points with 0 threes, no steals, no blocks, and went 5 of 7 from the line. He's been solid enough. Absolutely must roster 12, but not that guy that some may have hoped. Good game from Kispert, but always, let's call it the DeAndre Hunter. 22 points and 5 triples looks good. He just needs to shoot unbelievably well here, 73%, because the other stuff's a little empty. I don't mind rostering him. And Bilal Coulibaly is starting to just you know what Bilal's doing? And it feels lazy to do a French comparison, but it was the first name that came to head, maybe because I'm unconsciously biased. Racist, maybe some might say. Bilal went 11, 5, and 4 with 2 steals and a block. It feels like Nick Batum. Just never scoring in big numbers, but he hit 3 threes. Nice rebounds, nice assists, nice steals, nice blocks. Just contributing across the board. 33 minutes of that is not great for a points league, but it's pretty solid for a lot of category leagues. More leaning roto than head-to-head. Not fully there of him being a must roster, but that's just nice little across-the-board numbers from Bilal. For the Grizzlies, Trey Jemison played 31 minutes. He had 24 and 6 with 2 blocks and 85%. That's unbelievable. He's just not going to play every game. In fact, he probably might not even play next game. Because in addition to Jaren being out, Vince Williams was out. Scottie Pippen might come back next game, but Lamar Stevens was out, and Brandon Clark might come back in a couple of weeks. And he's on a 2-way. Same with Jordan Goodwin, who played 32 minutes and he had 8 points on 25%, which stinks, but 12 rebounds and 7 assists, a steal, a block, and a 3. From my calculations, he's got about 10 games left on his contract. But who knows when they're going to come? Makes it almost impossible to hold on to him. Greg Jackson, 19 points in 27 minutes, and you'll do a Kelly Oubre that. You go, oh, that's nice. GG's keeping it going. Yeah, but nah. 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 44 from the field on big volume, and then 4 of 6 from the line. He shot 14% from 3, and another terrible game for category leagues. Really hard to have him as a must-roster guy, really hard. Well, he's not, in fact. And then Santi Aldama, who was starting to put it together, unwrapped it all. 11 and 4 in 30 minutes on 36%, and another stinking free throw night. Why can this man not hit free throws? The Duck, Luke Kennard, 13, 4, and 8. I still don't trust that. Well, Jake LaRavia. LaRavia was a guy I was like, okay, maybe we can feel something in him. Giggity. And then he moved to the bench. Annoying. But 16 and 4 with 2 steals. Feels all right. It feels like he's almost doing a mini Vince Williams. We can feel a level of confidence in his production for 14s and maybe a little bit there for 12s. But man, how do I feel confident in anything here? DeJon Jarreau, the big fella, had 8, 5, and 6 with 2 steals. He's got appeal, but he's a 10-day contract. He might be done in 5 days. Really hard to feel any level of confidence in anything that these tool bags throw out there at this point. Today's episode is also brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is America's #1 fantasy sports app. It's got over 3 million members. It's the easiest and most exciting way to play DFS as well. It's just you against the numbers. You pick more than, you pick less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you watch the winnings roll in. It's demon time on Prize Picks as well, because now you can win up to 100 times your money with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into 1,000. Demon time and goblin time. The goblin demons. Demons and goblins. The newest, most exciting way to play Prize Picks. The squares marked as red demons. The squares marked as green goblins, no trademark, get you different payouts. You can now win up to 100 times your money with as little as 4 correct picks. Prize Picks also offers weekly promotions that can lead to big payouts, like Taco Tuesday. Each Tuesday, Prize Picks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value. So go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use the code LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. That is prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA. The code is LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks, pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Today's episode is also brought to you by Robinhood. Did you know that even if you have a 401k for retirement, you can still have an IRA? Robinhood has the only IRA that gives you a 3% boost on every dollar that you contribute when you subscribe to Robinhood Gold. But get this, now through April the 30th, Robinhood is even boosting every single dollar you transfer in from other retirement accounts with a 3% match. That is right, no cap on the 3% match. Robinhood Gold gets you the most for your retirement thanks to their IRA with a 3% match. This offer is good through April 30th. Get started at robinhood.com/boost. Subscription fees apply. And now for some legal info. Claim as of Q1 2024 validated by Radius Global Market Research. Investing involves risk, including loss. Limitations apply to IRAs and 401ks. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold for 1 year from the date of the first 3% match. Must keep Robinhood IRA for 5 years. The 3% matching on transfers is subject to specific terms and conditions. Robinhood IRA is available to US customers in good standing. Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC, is a registered broker-dealer. Let's go on to the third game of the day. The Indiana Pacers taking on the Oklahoma City Thunder, and it wasn't a huge surprise, but Jalen Williams did miss this game. It was a little surprising that Gordon Hayward was the one that stepped up. They've been giving him no minutes whatsoever. Last time they gave it to Cason Wallace, but it was Gordy who stepped into that lineup for the one game at least to replace old mate the Bronco. The Pacers win it, 121-111, the final score. Okay, let's dig in. Miles Turner, 24 points with 4 blocks on 65%. Great. Tyrese Halliburton, 18, 4, and 12 with a Richie Beno on 53% shooting. Didn't get any free throws, but we are starting to see him come back now. Over the last 5 games, back to being top 30. Still not where he was to begin the season, where he was running as a top 4 player, but we're starting to get some better production come in. Siakam, 18-11 with 2 steals and a block. And Andy Nembhard, after stinking last game, had 14 points, 5 assists. Now, the fact that Nembhard can play 26 minutes and have 0 points, like last game, means I don't want to add him for 12s. But this was strong. Aaron Nesmith still played big minutes. We wanted to see, he got 37 last game. What would he do here? He got 36. 15 and 4 with 2 blocks. That's a rosterable guy. While TJ McConnell, who played 27 last game, got only 17. He had 9 and 4. That's 4 assists, which is a little bit disappointing. Meaning that he moves, you hold him because they play tomorrow. But if there's going to be that level of fluctuation, that makes it hard to be a must-roster guy. Not much else going on. Obi Toppin had 10 and 4. He was great last game, but like we said, when that happened, we didn't really trust it. And there's not a lot else going on here in this game, I don't think, for the Pacers. For the Thunder, we'll go straight to watching what Gordon Hayward did. He played 30 minutes, which he'd obviously been nowhere near that in any game, but 9, 4, and 5 is not enough for us to add. Jalen might be back on Thursday, and I don't even care if he isn't. As for Josh Giddey, 28 minutes for him, 15, 7, and 3. He's starting to play much better. Shea had 30 and 10 with 5 assists, while Lou Dort, good game from Lou. He played a lot more minutes as well, 35. 18, 2, and 3. Never want to trust him. Always can stream, never trust. And Chet Holmgren had 15 and 13, 3 threes and 2 blocks. Not a lot else going on here. Cason Wallace did get a few extra minutes, and he played pretty well. Wouldn't be shocked if they actually started him over Hayward next game, if that's what they need to do. 11 points in 23 minutes for Cason with 3 threes, and another really hyper-efficient game, which has been his calling card basically all season as a rookie. So now we go on to the next game, which is probably the one that we wanted to see what would pan out or how things would play out the most, and that is the Houston Rockets taking on the San Antonio Spurs because we wanted to see what would happen without the delicate dancer, Alperen Şengün. And what did happen is they did go small. Jabari Smith Jr. started at center, and Amen Thompson moved into the starting lineup. And I talked a lot and brought up all the numbers and done all the research to say that Jabari hadn't been playing any minutes at center, like 4% of his minutes. They don't like to go small at all. Amen Thompson doesn't play any of these positions, and they do the exact opposite, except in-game, it didn't really happen that way. And we'll talk about that now. Because the Rockets do win 103-101, but Amen Thompson played bench minutes. He played 23 minutes as a starter. He did come in to close, but he had 6 points. He took 2 shots. He had 2 assists and a steal. Now, as soon as we heard that he was starting, I expected there to be a small boost for him to go from 20 minutes, like 24 to 25. Right, that's what I thought would happen. But I was not at all expecting that Udoka would just run with Jabari at center. I didn't think that would be the case. And then they announced it. Went, geez, okay, I'm wrong. Cool, whatever. So I boosted a little bit of projections for men, but it just honestly just went back to exactly what I thought would happen. And I don't know that it holds this way, but 23 minutes for men, 26 minutes for Jock Landale. Landale had 11, 4, and 5, 2 steals and a block. That's a 12-team league line. The problem we have here is there are a couple of ways this can go. They run this exact same thing. Amen starts, Landale plays 26 off the bench. We're good. They change it up. Landale starts, plays 26 or 28 as a starter. W there as well. Or we see Amen continue to start, Landale plays 19 minutes and Amen plays 30 and it doesn't work out. But to me, that means there's like 2 pathways here for this being good for Landale. So I have absolutely no problem with adding him. If I've added Amen, I would probably hold, but I'd be a little bit cautious about it. With no Whitmore, it doesn't give us the perfect idea of what would have happened, but the good thing, which is not a good thing, but the good thing about it is that we don't have to worry about that because Whitmore's not coming back. If Whitmore was going to be out one game, we would go, well, we've got all this information, but I'm not sure what it means. But now it means something because Cam's going to be out 3 weeks at least here. So, yeah, I would be adding Landale. He could play 12 minutes, 18 minutes next game. But he didn't, and he was great. Van Vliet had 21, 7 and 7, 2 steals, 2 blocks. Just an absolute monster. Well, Smith was poor early, but was okay in the end. 15 and 9 with 2 steals. But again, I would love to hear the unfiltered Ime Udoka thoughts. I don't think that he felt particularly good about having Jabari play at center. Jalen Green stunk, 16, 7 and 5 on 31%. I'm interested in the 5 assists and the increased rebounds. That's good without Şengün. Well, Dylan Brooks did a very, very strong defensive effort. He was very good defensively on Wembanyama. But not enough for me to care in category leagues. 14 points with not much else. He did have some foul trouble, but still played 30 minutes. The key thing here is going to be the Landale versus Amen situation. We also got Jayshawn Tate, the wild thing, back into the rotation. 2 points in 13 minutes. Not that matters for any of us, but he was back in. And there's always that risk that he can take some of the Amen minutes. So we got an answer. It's not a definitive answer about what happens without Şengün, but it's definitely a very big tick in the Landale side and a small limp half tick in the Amen Thompson side. As much as we like Thompson better as a player, losing a center, adding a point guard to the rotation does not, I don't think, works. Nor do I think it works in terms of what Ime Udoka's philosophy is. And so far, in one game, that was correct. That does not mean that it's correct every other game, but it's literally all we have to go on at this point. For the Spurs, Trey Jones, just 24 points on 60%, on 57% from 3. The man can't shoot, yet did this. Cool, good for him. Don't expect that, but that's great. Well, Sohan also had a big game, but we're not getting sucked into Sohan. We stream him when it's necessary. 21 and 8 with 2 threes, and Wemby started off really slow. Didn't end up great, but 13, 10, and 6, 1 steal, 2 blocks, shot poorly. He looks a little bit like off at the moment with that ankle. I'm a little worried about where this is going. He just doesn't look quite himself, and same with Vassell, who was massively off. 6, 5, and 6 for Vassell in 36 minutes. He played a lot, but he just didn't look healthy on the back-to-back. 33%. Zach Collins, you only hold him because of Wemby being out. Like, that's it. 7 points, 16 minutes. While Malaka Branham had 4 points in 22 minutes. Yesterday, I was saying Malachi Branham, and I, for some reason, just tripped over the word and called him Malachi or whatever. And I said, it just sounds like I'm calling him Malaka. Yeah, the Greek word. And then a lot of people who speak Greek jumped into the comments, Josh, I think you need to research what that word means. Do you know what Malaka actually means in Greek? Yeah, I grew up in Melbourne. You know how many Greek people live here? Melbourne, I believe, is the second largest Greek city in the world behind Athens. There's so many Greek people here. I got so many Greek friends. I know what a malaka is. So when I called him Malachi, or whatever I called him, and then I turned into Malaka, it was deliberate. Anyway, and if you don't know what a malaka is, maybe you are the malaka. Enough malakas? Yeah, malaka. Malaka Branham had 4 points. Malaka Branham had 4 points in 22 minutes. We are jacking that guy off hard.
Get that garbage out of here.
Bubble Champagne played 34 minutes with the horse Keldon Johnson out. Champagne had 10 points, 2 steals, 2 threes. We're not adding him. 16s, absolutely, I like it. But there is going to be a period this season, don't know when, probably let's say April 1st, give or take, that he will be a 12-team league player, Champagne. We saw it last season. He needs other guys out of the way, which means he's not going to be this excellent long-term player, because if you need 4 blokes out of the way so you can do stuff, then you're not that guy. But that will appear, I think, for him. It might be him and the Malaka doing it all themselves later on in the season. I like saying Malaka. Let's do the next game, the Boston Celtics and the Utah Jazz. Changes to the Celtics lineup. We knew there would be some movement here. Drew Holiday returned, Peyton Pritchard out of the starting lineup. The Jazz also made some changes with Luka Šarmanić starting over Walker Kessler. Interesting. And then, as expected, there was no Jaylen Brown. Sam Hauser started for him, and Al Horford and Porzingis were both out. Luke Cornett got the start there. So obviously some change arounds. We expected that Horford would be out. I did predict that Brown would be out. I did predict that Holiday would play. I didn't think that Porzingis would sit him. So that seems like it's a legitimate hamstring problem there for Porzingis, and we hope that doesn't last too much longer. Fingers crossed. So the Celtics still win. It doesn't matter. 123-107, the final score. Jason Tatum did his thing, 38-6. Derek White did his thing, 24-6 with 7 triples and 3 blocks. Drew Holiday played 38 minutes. He had 16, 5, and 8. These are all obviously huge numbers, and you love to get these sort of numbers in these sort of situations. But the Luke Cornett had 12, 9, and 5. That's 2 solid games in a row from Cornett. Now, I wouldn't bother holding him through whatever the next gap of games where they don't play that much, but nice little stream. Sam Hauser also was a good stream, 14-5 with 4 triples and 2 blocks. Pritchard was better yesterday. Struggled here today with 10 points in 25 minutes, while the cashier, 27 minutes for Xavier Tillman, 7 and 8 with both the absences of Porzingis and of Horford. We don't need to look at Hauser or Tillman or Pritchard or Cornett and do anything with them long term, except understand that the Celtics are going to do this again at some point. For the Jazz, Keontae George had some foul trouble, but played 35 minutes, 26 points, 6 assists, 2 blocks and 5 triples, and is just a guaranteed must-roster player. Can't do anything else than that. Walker Kessler to the bench, played 19 minutes and had 2 points. What do we do with this guy? In a points league, I don't think you have to hold. If there's that much uncertainty in minutes, you don't have to. Category league, I probably still will, but that's annoying. It's also annoying that Bryce Sensabaugh played only 23 minutes and had 2 points with 4 rebounds and 4 assists. The problem here again is that I just don't know what's going to happen with Lauri Markkanen. Is he going to return at all? I think yes, but I don't know. Johnny Collins had a disappointing 10-4 with 2 blocks. Clarkson played 34 minutes, had 21 points with not much else. And Chris Dunn actually got back to 24 minutes. He had 6 points and 4 assists. It's just a really tough team to figure out. Like, Šarmanić started and played just 14 minutes. So it's not like he took Kessler's minutes. So why is Walker playing so little? Why are we using 17 minutes on Taylor Horton-Tucker and 13 minutes on Micah Potter? No Ken Lofton, by the way. The one here we obviously roster is Keontae George. Things will get a little bit more complicated when Taylor Hendricks returns, which might be a game or two. Same with Markkanen. We just don't know. Still run with Sexton, run with George, run with Collins. Kessler's borderline. Sensabaugh's a streamy guy until we get some confirmation on some of these other players. But that frustration is pretty high, but not as frustrating as you might be with a certain player who played in the next game. All right. The Wolves, the Clippers. We'll talk about some weirdness in a second. Let's look at what the lineup changes were here. We had quite a few because Rudy Gobert returned. That moved Naz Reid to the bench. Kawhi Leonard returned, sort of. And that pushed PJ Tucker to the bench. He started their last game. They also had Kyle Anderson return, pushing Nickeil Alexander-Walker to the bench. And Paul George was back for the Clippers, meaning that Amir Coffey moved to the bench. But that wasn't the whole story, was it? Well, let's talk about what the whole story actually was. The Wolves win at 118-100 in the end, so good win for Minnesota. We'll talk about Gobert, who played 33 minutes. He had 8 points, 11 rebounds, 2 steals, and 2 blocks, but he left early. with like a rib issue. They called it a rib evaluation. So I guess they're having an x-ray to see if there's a fracture. They don't play again until Saturday, so hopefully it's nothing serious. A rib fracture is going to keep him out for a bit of time. The interesting thing here, obviously, is they've had this 2-game week. We were debating, hey, is Naz Reid worth it? And then the last 2 games from Reid had been excellent. But as I've always stated with Reid, it does take certain things to happen for him to get there. And Reid ended up with 6 points, 5 rebounds, played 22 minutes, despite Gobert missing the final 6 minutes of this game. When Gobert left with 6 minutes left, Reid had 6 and 4 and had played 18 minutes. To me, having him for a 2-game week didn't work. It might work now if Gobert misses the game on Saturday, but we have to remember that huge game that Reid had last time out was because Gobert was out, Towns was out, Anderson was out. And I believe the game before that was one where all the starters were bad and the bench stepped up into bigger minutes and really got the game back under control for the Wolves. I know there's maybe I'm just missing something, but the amount of people I hear, fantasy and non-fantasy related, that froth Naz Reid, I just don't understand it. I think he's fine. I think he's solid. But I don't think he's a dominator. I think he's that awesome. Like, he was bad here. If you've got him now and Gobert is hurt, I think you do hold, but they don't play until Saturday. So that's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday with no games on. And no point holding Reid in a situation where he plays 1 game in 5 nights and then you've wasted a roster spot and you don't make it through to the next round. It's a tough decision. Kyle Anderson started, he played 29 minutes and he had the most Kyle Anderson line you could have, 10, 5, and 7. And if you added Kyle Anderson or streamed him in, this is literally exactly what you would have asked for. Perfect. But, we don't roster him. Of course, we know what to do with Jaden McDaniels.
Get that garbage out of here!
He missed all 8 of his shots. He had 4 rebounds. With Towns out, he is worse. He's in that mode for me. I need to see 50 games of you being very good until I believe you are good, because now you are just trash, and you have been that for 4 years. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, 28 points, 5 dribbles. He started the second half because Anthony Edwards was late again for whatever reason, but he stayed in that group while Kyle Anderson came out a minute into the third quarter. That's 2 really big ones in a row from Alexander-Walker, but you can't hold for 3 zeros. You have to move on. Conley, great game, 23 points. Got to drop him. Can't hold for 1 game in 5 nights. While Goose had 37, 8, and 4, Anthony Edwards took 29 shots, 5 of 7 from the field, 71%. I know Anthony Edwards is great. We all love him, super athletic. But again, he's one of those guys that some of the narrative around him is insane to me. I saw a tweet from Shams. I think it was like, is he the new face of the league? No. Like, he's not at all. He's not a top 5 player. He's not a top 10 player. Why isn't he getting buds for MVP? I guess because he's not the MVP? I don't know. Again, you can debate that with me. I don't care that they were the best team or they got the best record. He's not one of the best 5 players in the NBA. He's exciting. He's fun. I get all this. But I don't know. There's just an overvaluation of Edwards a lot at the moment, which is annoying because I like the bloke. And I don't like to sit there with a guy that I like and it's fun to watch and I go, he's not actually the best player in the league. What are we talking about? And then it makes you feel like you're hating on him, but I'm not. You're just like, that doesn't feel real. On to the Clippers. What's going on? Kawhi Leonard just leaves after the first quarter, pops on a denim jacket and buggers off. Okay. Apparently, he was dealing with back spasms throughout the day, tried to play through it, couldn't, was uncomfortable, went to sit down. It was really uncomfortable, and he basically said, I'm just going to be much better if I'm watching the game from home on the couch. And they went, cool, see you later. And he was out. So now what do we do? We hope it's just a temporary back spasms thing. There's nothing significant going on. That would be the hope. That would be the guess. I had someone already ask the question, what do I do with Kawhi? You do absolutely nothing. You don't do a single thing with Kawhi. You can't. You don't drop him. 100% you don't drop him. If you hear information, Kawhi Leonard has ruptured a disc and he's out for 6 months, then you drop him. You don't drop him because he left a game midway through. You don't do anything. You just literally just hold him and we just wait for information. At the moment, it's just a back spasm. They play a Thursday, Friday back-to-back. They've got 3 games in 4 nights to end the week. Safe to say he probably misses one of those games, the back-to-back. But we don't know if this is a disaster scenario. We're all programmed to think it's a disaster every time Kawhi leaves. But it was just a very weird scenario, very weird situation overall. Daniel Tice had 15 points with 2 blocks. I don't care that much. Pre-game, Ty Lue said they've got to find a way to limit James Harden's minutes. Didn't happen here. He played 34. He had 12, 2, and 7 with 2 steals. And Paul George had 22 points. The guy you want to have a look at for those 3 games in 4 nights is Norman Powell. He wasn't great here, 11 and 4 in 28 minutes. But if Kawhi misses, and we know that Russ is going to miss, Norm's the guy. I'm marginally interested in Terrence Mann in that situation. Not as much, but he had 7 points in 28 minutes. And Amir Coffey had 8 in 18. But it's all going to come down to what on earth does end up happening with the fun guy himself. Let's look at the next game. A game that was a blowout as well. There was a change in the lineup because Keegan Murray was out with that ankle problem. They play again tomorrow. The Kings. Keon Ellis started in place of Keegan Murray. No idea whether Keegan is going to play tomorrow, but if you're in a situation where, like if you find out early that he's not playing, you move. He's not good enough to hold through an extended absence this week if you are in the playoffs. He's not good enough to do that. The final score was huge. 129 Sacramento, 94 Milwaukee. Just another a poor performance here. Giannis was good. He had 30 and 13. He shot 59 from the field. He was bad from the line, typical game ball. Lillard had some real struggles, 17% shooting. He at least added 5 rebounds, a triple one and 6 assists, but just terrible shooting night. While Bob Portis had 11 and 7, and Lopez's suckiness continued. Lopez and I talked about him on the Fantasy Trend show earlier today, saying how bad he was, and if I was in a points league, I'd consider dropping. Absolutely I would. I don't know that you need to hold that. But in a category league, it's getting pretty bad. 7 and 4 with a block. Percentages are down. Usage is down. Block rate is down. He just looks bad at the moment. And he can turn it on at any point, but we also don't have the luxury of waiting. Leaky Beasley's a drop. You stream him in, that's it. When you're looking for points and threes, but you don't have to hold. 11 points for Leaky with 3 dribbles and not a lot else that's really of any importance at all. For the Kings, Keon Ellis, replacing Keegan Murray, played 27 minutes, 7 points, 3 steals, 4 rebounds. Thought he defended well, but it's not going to mean much for fantasy. Fox had a great one, 29, 6, and 7 with 2 steals, and Sabonis had 22, 11, and 8. Big performances from those guys. Fanderpants, I thought he might do a little bit more with Murray up. No. He had 11 points in 25 minutes. The 5 rebounds, 3 threes are okay, but he's just a stream sort of a player. They play tomorrow, so you can have a look there. And the pencil, Harrison Barnes. Barnesy. Good game. 16 and 6, 4 dribbles, 2 assists. I don't care. I'm not adding him outside of desperation stream stuff. Chris Duarte played 11 minutes. Oh, man, sick. While Trey Lyles left this one early with a knee problem, he was scoreless in 8 minutes. With him out, we got 5 minutes of JaVale McGee. We got 9 minutes of Alex Len, but this is just not going to have any real impact on really any fantasy leagues, I don't think. Let's go into the streams of the day. The 10-team stream of the day recap was Keontae George. He just had a casual 26, 1 and 6 with 0 steals and 2 blocks. Your 12-teamer was TJ McConnell. Didn't work out well at all. 9 points, 4 assists, and a steal. Your 14-team one did. Jake LaRavia had 16, 4 and 1 with 2 steals and 0 blocks. And your 16-teamer, that was all right. I thought we'd get a little bit more out of Case and Wallace, but 11 points, 3 rebounds, and a block is totally okay. And your Yahoo points and ESPN point streamer was Keontae George. 39.2 Yahoo points and 46 ESPN points. He's just got to be rostered absolutely everywhere. Your lines of the night start with the monstrous. Who had the best performance of the day? And up until the last game and up until the last 2 minutes of the last game, it looked like this was going to be Josh Hart. But De'Aaron Fox, staying in an extra 2 minutes after the Bucks pulled their starters, had 29, 6 and 7, huge percentages. He gets it. Your waiver wire line of the night, the best performance from somebody who is rostered in under 50% of leagues, and it is safe to say that this man is rostered in under 50% of leagues. He's also the young gun of the night, and it's also one of the ones where I look at and go, that's really good, but I don't think I have any ability to trust that because it's Trey Jemison. He had 24 points, he had 6 rebounds, he had 2 blocks, and I don't even know if he'll play a single minute tomorrow. Such is life with the Memphis Grizzlies. And that brings us to the dud of the night. The worst performer who's rostered in over 50% of leagues. We're going to go to New York. This guy, why is he still rostered? Bojan Bogdanovic, 0 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist. He's been a jack for a long time. So if you haven't, do it. The top 6 players for fantasy today, starting with category leagues. Number 1 was De'Aaron Fox, followed by Josh the Hitman Hart, Jason Tatum, Derek White, Fred VanVleet, and Tyrese Halliburton. Your top 6 players rostered in under 50%. Trey Jemison, Nickeil Alexander-Walker. Interesting, but they only got one more game in the next 5 days. Don't care. Luke Cornett. Keep it in mind if Horford and Porzingis are out again. Andy Nembhard, good game. Not into it. Jock Landale. Jock Landale is, I think, probably worth a look. And the Duck, Luke Kennard, as he won't even play tomorrow, will he? It's on a back-to-back. Is he going to play? Probably not. That's, again, the Memphis conundrum. Lastly, your top 6 players in Yahoo points leagues. Number 1 was Josh Hart, followed by Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Anthony Edwards, De'Aaron Fox, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Domantas Sabonis. So, what are some little takeaways here to end the show? I think Jock Landale is worth looking at. I think Amen Thompson with a starting gig is worth looking at. Little iffy on it. Desmond Bane, I've talked about all the pros and cons of that. In some spots, you can add him. In some, you can't. If you've got a buy, add him. If you're in Roto, add him. If you're comfortably through this week, add him. But it could also turn into an absolute nothing. And I think with the updates we got today, holding on to Julius Randle probably doesn't work out. And you don't need to be rostering Cam Whitmore. Thought there could have been a big opportunity for him, but then he goes and gets hurt at that same time. So that is the end of today's show. Hopefully we get some clarity on Gobert and Kawhi really soon. And before I sign off, I'm just going to go and have a look. We do have a note on Kawhi. Here we go. Kawhi Leonard has been dealing with the back spasms for a couple of days, and Ty Lue said that Leonard wasn't sure that he was going to play today before he ultimately played. Lue doesn't know yet if Leonard is going to make the upcoming trip. So the trip is the Thursday, Friday, back-to-back. They are at home again on Sunday against the Hawks. And then they play the Blazers Wednesday, the Blazers Friday. Oh, no. Because if he doesn't make the trip, then they probably don't need him Sunday against the Hawks, Wednesday against the Blazers, or Friday against the Blazers. Keep an eye on that. Not good. Don't forget that if you are here, I want your thumbs. Please thumb it up, ring your bell, and leave the comments down below. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.